So it's finally time to buy a new phone. So you start to browse and see options from Samsung, Apple, Honor, Oppo. You're confused now. So you go in store to speak to a team member. But when you get there, they tell you about all these specs like AMOLED, Snapdragon, 200 megapixels, AI features, and now you're even more confused. The truth is, you don't need the best phone on paper and you don't need the most expensive. You just need a phone that works for you. By the end of this video, you'll know what phone works best for you, your lifestyle, and your needs. Let's get into it. So let's start with your budget. The reality is the budget will determine the types of phones and the amount of phones you can pick from. However, the biggest mistake that most consumers make is that they pick the phone to fit their budget instead of the other way around. With that being said, I've decided to break down the different types of phones you can expect at different price brackets. Entry level. This is roughly 3,000 and below, and this is just for the person that just needs a phone just to use as a phone. So, the basics like communication, phone calls, maybe some texting on WhatsApp, some live social media like Facebook, maybe some video consumption on YouTube or a movie or two, and probably like your banking apps, right? That's pretty much it. Now, do they have great cameras? No, they don't. Can they take a decent picture? Yeah, they can. People love to hate on budget phone cameras, but general rule of thumb is if you give it enough light, you can take a good picture. Just don't expect flagship level pics. So before I go into the next categories, I'd like to actually talk about the 5 pillars of a great phone. And these would be performance, display, camera, design, and battery. I mentioned this because I'll be referring to these going forward. Okay, with that being said, next up is your budget phones. These are roughly around 3,000 to 5,000 rand. And it gets a bit interesting from here. So referring back to the pillars I just mentioned, manufacturers around this time would focus on 1, maybe 2 of the key pillars that we just mentioned. So for example, you'll find that these phones maybe will have a great battery and good performance, but will compromise on the screen, design, and performance. Or maybe you find that they have good battery and performance, but the camera is really bad. So in conclusion, every phone in this category tends to make a compromise. So next up are your mid-range phones. These are roughly around 3,000 to 5,000 rand, and honestly this is probably one of my favorite categories, and the only reason is because this is where you get the best bang for your buck. Going back to the pillars that I mentioned, you typically get 3 out of the 5, maybe 4, but even the ones that are quote-unquote missing are not great, but they are good. So really, you're getting a premium feeling phone without paying an arm and a leg for them. So some examples of this are the Samsung Galaxy A37, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 15, Poco phones, OnePlus Nord, and so on and so forth. But pretty much you're getting about 90% of a good experience at half the price. And for most South Africans, this is the sweet spot. Up next are your upper mid-range devices, aka your flagship killers. These roughly will run you around 9 to 15k, and what you find is that they nail about 4 out of the 5 pillars of a great phone. So what that really means is that you get good processing, so they're quite fast, great screens, they look amazing, great design, typically metal and glass, and they have really good batteries. Typically where companies tend to compromise is around the camera, not because they're bad by any means, it's just that typically they're using old camera tech, or they just plain out compromised on the camera tech. Some examples of these are your Samsung A57s, your iPhone 16e, your Honor 600s, or even refurbished devices, so your older flagships like your S24s, your iPhone 14 Pros, 15s. This is where you honestly get a really good phone, and this is good for most people. The biggest difference between these and flagships tend to be around 2 things: luxury features, so pretty much AI, or the camera, as I've mentioned before. But overall, great phone, you will never go wrong with these ones. Lastly are your flagships. These are the big leagues, so this is typically where you spend 15k plus. And these are the ones that pretty much nail almost all 5, if not all 5, of the pillars of a great phone. So there's little to no compromises here, and these tend to be the representation of every brand. So we're talking about your Samsung Galaxy S26, talking about your iPhone 17s, we're talking about the new and improved Honor Magic. But you find they have the best cameras, the best software, the best battery, the best designs. overall, if you have the money for this, you're never gonna go wrong with these. It's generally just down to preference. Yeah. Okay, with that being said, you now know what to expect at the different price ranges. But with that being said, it is important to know what type of consumer or what type of phone user you are, because it's really pointless buying a phone that's best for gaming when you actually want to do it for content creation, because they are designed differently, or they will do the task differently. And this is where my next point comes up: phone user personas. Know your persona. In my opinion, this is the most important part for a consumer. So for now, let's forget about the brands, let's forget about the marketing, let's forget about the specs. The most important thing now is asking yourself, who are you as a phone user? So these are my 5 persona types. Persona number 1, the essentialist. This is the type of person that doesn't really care about the specs, the brands, the design. They just want a phone that works. So this type of person, they just want to use their phone for phone calls, use it for texting like on WhatsApp or Facebook, maybe watch some YouTube videos here and there, and probably a bare essentials like banking apps, right? So they can definitely get away with using an old phone or a cheap phone, but I think what's important here is you need to factor in how smooth the experience is. You don't want a super slow phone. For me, it's the equivalent of going to home affairs. Now you're wasting time when you could have done something online, for example. So efficiency is important to this person. However, the brand, the specs and all that don't matter. Persona number 2, the content creator. This is the person that's not just about capturing a moment, but creating content. So we're talking about YouTube, TikTok, photography, editing. So at this point, your priorities are shifting. So what's important to you is a good camera, a good display, some really good performance, and a good battery. When it comes to the cameras, it's not always about the most megapixels. What makes a good camera are 3 main things: a good lens, a good sensor, and good computational processing behind it. That's why phones like iPhone, Samsung's Pixels don't typically have the most megapixels in their cameras, but produce some of the best industry-leading pictures. And also remember, if you're going to be doing some editing, that's a very demanding task, so having a very powerful chip under the hood is extremely important, and making sure you have a good display really allows you to edit with good color accuracy. Next up is the gamer. Gaming on mobile phones has become extremely popular in the past couple of years. We got amazing games like Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, Fortnite, and these games are quite demanding on a phone. So in my opinion, these are about 3 to 4 important features that you need on your phone. Number 1 would be a good battery, because you don't really want to be gaming and the next thing was a battery dies. Next up is good processing, because as I've mentioned, the games are very demanding and you need something to handle that heavy load. And lastly is a good screen. Without a high refresh rate, the game won't feel smooth. So actually what I prioritize in this category is high refresh rate, not particularly high pixel count. One thing that tends to be overlooked is cooling. Recently, you find a lot of phones have been coming out with vapor chambers. This is to help with the cooling so phones don't throttle and reduce their performance to sustain equilibrium, if you can call it that. So making sure that your phone doesn't overheat and reduce the experience that you're having on your phone while gaming is also extremely important. Persona number 4 is your business professional. Honestly, most phones work for this person. However, this is someone that's going to be using their phone strictly for business, or reading emails, maybe doing some note taking or taking down notes, or even doing some Microsoft Office suite work. You find that Samsung, Apple do really, really well in these areas, maybe sometimes due to partnerships or just how the software runs. But overall, this person just needs the smooth experience, not the latest and greatest, but definitely something that performs well. And lastly is the enthusiast. This is people like me, people that probably have already watched this or watch this for entertainment and they know what they love. But you love tech, you love watch tech content. You know, you watch some of my favorite content creators like Mr. Who's the Boss or MKBHD. You already know what all the specs means, like what a Snapdragon Elite chip is, what's the difference between that and an A19 chip, what AMOLED is, what LCD is, you know, what's important, what's not important. So typically this person really doesn't need any help deciding what they want because they know exactly what they want. I just wanted to put that out there in the video because you do matter as well. The enthusiast, you're awesome. You probably love OnePlus. You probably miss HTC. I personally miss Nokia Lumia, but hey, that's That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that's pretty much all on the personas. I think it's super important that you understand who you are as a user, or what your needs are, because this will allow you to really, should I say, focus on exactly what you need, and you end up not overspending or having buyer's remorse when you do end up buying the phone that you desire. Because at the end of the day, a phone is a big investment. It's something that you can end up using for multiple years. So again, getting a phone that matches who you are and what you need is extremely important. Okay, well, we've reached the end of this video. Again, if you've made it this far, I really do appreciate it. And if you did like it, please hit a like, subscribe, share with your friends. I'm gonna be trying to do weekly videos every week, but I hope you got something from this video. And if there's one thing you could get from this, is get a phone that's for you, not to, you know, get the best or whatever, because there's a lot of phones that cost 7, 8, 10k, even cheaper than that, that are perfect for you, but maybe not perfect for someone else. You don't have to get a 25,000 phone, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's all about bang for your buck here. Hope you had a good one, and hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.